And Trump also selected members of his legal defense team for jobs within the Justice Department.
And that has many wondering what will happen with his criminal cases. Fox 5 legal analyst Wendy Patrick joining us now to explain. Wendy, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so let's start here. A judge was supposed to rule on the hush money case this week. He delayed his decision to next week. What's going on?
Well, what's going on, no doubt, behind the scenes is he's wondering whether or not it makes sense to continue with sentencing. Remember everything that's happened since this began. We have, most significantly, the U.S. Supreme Court weighing in on the issue of presidential immunity. Now, they can debate all day long and file briefs about what acts may or may not be covered by immunity, when he was in office, out of office, was he on personal time, professional time. But be that as it may, the question, I think, as a practical matter for this judge is he going to send Donald Trump from the courtroom to the Situation Room with this case hanging over him for the next 4 years? Because think about it, he could render sentence, as he's planning on doing at the end of the month.
Right.
But what would that be? What could it be, given that he's on his way back to the White House? And would there be some argument that, well, it's unconstitutional to tie up the president from not being able to perform his duties, when the ultimate verdict would be the argument already occurred at the ballot box?
I'm so confused by so much of this.
It rendered you speechless. I know. It's
which
tough.
rarely happens. Does the case just all go away? Or can you legally say, let's put it all on hold for 4 years and then do the sentencing in 4 years when his second term is over? I don't know that any of this has any precedent anywhere.
Yes, that's right. It has no precedent, and unprecedented means unpredictable, because both of the options you laid out are possible. Now think about the second option, Raul. So if the second option were to be preferred, in other words, if this were to be put on hold for 4 years, think about what that would mean. So it's 2029, Donald Trump is 82 years old, and then we revisit something that is now so many years removed. When, remember, this was the case about the falsified business records. So we're not even talking about January 6th, the documents at Mar-a-Lago, the Georgia election interference case. So this is the only case that resulted in a prosecution and conviction.
Right.
And then the other issue, I think, that maybe is even more significant is, does this then interfere with the president being able to perform his official duties, since it's the only one that actually went to verdict?
I mean, we obviously don't have time to go through all this, but the election subversion case, what about that one?
Well, that's another state case. And in a case like that, remember, that got derailed briefly.
Right.
But and of course, the president can only pardon for federal crimes, so not for state crimes. So the question would be, do the state governors get involved? Or probably not, or is there going to be some kind of an argument made that too involved the presidential immunity analysis? Remember, we already know that is in play in several of these cases. Now, once the Supreme Court ruled, it's almost like, the judges have an out as to re-examine the strength of these particular cases, because necessarily, given that this is all tied up with his presidency, all of them involve some argument of, well, I did that in my official capacity, rightly or wrongly.
So as president, though, explain this. How much can he just pardon himself from these things?
Well, he can only pardon, of course, for federal crimes. A president has never sought to pardon himself. And remember, we talked a lot about that during the course of when these indictments were first coming down, as to whether he would give that a try. Or we also talked about, well, does he pardon himself, the January 6th co-conspirators, and Hunter Biden, kind of a package clemency deal going into office and turning the page. What is more likely to happen is the cases will likely be wound down by those that are bringing them, rather than have this big debacle at the White House and dominating the news as to whether he can pardon himself.
Because I wrote down, is all of this a big distraction? And we've heard that term a lot. And in terms of legalese, winding down seems like a less legal term. What does that mean? They're just going to be done with it? They're going to put it. What does winding down mean? It's
trying to figure out potentially how to dismiss a prosecution, like the Jack Smith saga.
I was going to ask about Jack Smith too. Yeah.
Right. And so he's said in so many words that he is trying to figure out how to resolve these cases. Now, resolve sounds like it means a motion to dismiss. We know that he is resigning. He's certainly not going to be a part of the new administration. We can safely appreciate that. But how? And that's the question. How do you wind down, quote unquote, unprecedented legal prosecutions that are now complicated with, remember, all the famous opinion that says you can't prosecute a sitting president. So they have a little over a month to figure out how to gracefully disentangle the incoming administration from these cases.
Gracefully disentangle.
I like that.
Lots of terms. I don't think I've ever heard you use the word "or" more in one conversation.
Because you
Lots
asked
of
how.
options.
There's a lot of "ors." Wow.
There's a lot of options, although I do think the most likely option is that all four of them, remember the one has already been dismissed and Jack Smith's appealing that all four of them wind down before he takes office. I would guess sooner rather than later. We're going into the holidays. Let's just enjoy the holidays and try to have a brand new year in 2025 with this behind us. Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't that be something? Wendy Patrick?
I like your necklace.
Yes.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
And I
I'll wear
like
it
the
for you
green.
guys.
It's all good.
Thanks.